Well, hello, friends. It's another Wednesday night in Material Issues Land. It's the last Wednesday of September, September 25th in the year 2024. This is episode number 172 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records, popdetective.com. It's all out there. Joining me, I'm over here on the East Coast where it's early evening, but I always have to say good afternoon to the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival and my very good friend, Mr. David Bash. How you doing there, bling man?
I think the bling goes well with this
Bling.
pattern shirt. Actually,
It does, man.
I'm still the psychedelic gangsta. I'm I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a dreary, rainy, ugly, nasty day today, but my first foster dog is visiting from Toronto tomorrow after 2 years. The Reeds are coming down. Bob Reed is big in the Klaatu circle and a musician in Toronto, and he and his wife are coming down and bringing my first foster dog that they adopted over 2 years ago to Toronto. And,
that's wonderful.
They're going to visit for the weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see when they open up the car door whether the dog remembers Ches and I, but I'm sure it will.
Smell is probably the strongest memory sense. So sense of smell will bring it all back for them.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun weekend of visiting and talking music and playing with the dogs and having a good time. So yeah, it's all on tap. I feel great. Feeling great.
Good afternoon, Tim. Oh, I'm looking at the comment. You haven't put it up yet.
Oh yeah, Tim joining us. Hey, Tim. Nice.
Might you be related to one of our guests, Tim? Because we know Allen is such an uncommon name, so I had to ask that question.
I was really blown away because I was doing all this research for our guests tonight, and I thought it was a very famous rapper. I thought you said Ice Cube was going to be on the show this evening, so I'm completely unprepared for what's happening.
I wish we had him. So let me call out to my boy O'Shea Jackson. You're always invited.
Well, since you're wearing all this bling, I thought that's what the show was going to be all about. Hey, Carl Caffarelli.
Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy.
See you, Carl. We knew you'd be here.
Yeah.
But we're happy to see you. Little watch check for some reason. It's my Aragon, my Aragon diver with a really nice salmon color. The cool thing about this one is it looks different depending upon your perspective. So the color actually changes a bit. So I
match your shirt and everything.
Yeah, it matches my shirt. My watches always match my shirt. That's what I strive for.
You are a man of many watches and shirts.
I am. And, speaking of watches, well, not really, but I hope people watch their Facebook. I just put up the. Yes, I'm sure you did. I just put up the new IPO New York Facebook event,
nice.
Right on the heels of the IPO Boston Facebook event. So we're really looking forward to both of those, and I will be putting the lineups for IPO Toronto together this weekend, and we'll get that event up on Facebook as well. But very much looking forward to all three. I think they're going to be great, and I always love coming back to the East Coast, of course.
Hey, Todd.
Oh, Todd Zartman, huh? Friend of yours?
Friend of mine, yeah, good friend of mine. Yeah.
Wow. Welcome, Todd.
Welcome, Todd. Yeah.
That's what's going on in IPO land. I forgot to bring in another tribute album. I say another because our guest just put one out that's amazing. I'll just mention it briefly. Robin Hitchcock, who I'm actually trying to get on our show, has just put out a tribute album called 1967. Wow. Which is him doing about 12 or 13 tracks that were originally released in 1967. Oh, obviously, cool. A big slant on UK artists because that's where he grew up. But mostly songs that we know. It's not too many obscure ones on there. but there are some very cool choices also. It's not all obvious ones either. Sort of in that nether region,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, it's really cool. We'll talk about that next time. It's just us. I'll showcase that one. But right now, I want to bring on guests who have put out an absolutely tremendous tribute album to tracks that they grew up with and still love. That album is called right here, Pop Treasures, and these two gentlemen who were one half of the great power pop band, the Flashcubes, have really done an amazing job on this. It checks every box. Not only do they do a great job of the songs, but the songs they chose are like an encyclopedia of cool taste. I mean, in fact, if you wanted to teach somebody what power pop was or what great melodic pop was, you might tell them to check out the originals of these songs, and that'll give you a really wonderful idea. But these two guys did them justice, and I'm not surprised because I've known about them since early 1978. Oh, cool. Okay. Thank you, Carl. I've known them since I think it was March or April of 1978. I walked into a Syracuse, New York record store called Desert Shore, which I'm sure these guys are familiar with. And I saw this 45 with a picture sleeve on the front desk. And it was called Christie Girl. And, you know, when I see a title like that, I'm thinking, that's probably going to be power pop. I don't know if I actually used that phrase in my thinking back then. I probably just said, oh, really great pop. And I don't remember if the guys I haven't looked at that picture sleeve for a while. I don't remember if there were pictures of the guys on there, but everything about it screamed pop to me. So I asked Alan Braun, the owner, what do you think? Would I like this? And he said, yeah, you definitely would. So I grabbed it, put it on, and my love affair with that band started right then and has continued until now. And over the years, they played IPO a few times, and I'm always grateful for that. And one of the other members of the band still plays IPO with his current band, 145. But anyway, so we're going to bring on these guys. Like I said, they did an amazing record, and we're going to talk about that and other aspects of their life and career. So without further ado, would you please give a huge welcome to Tommy Allen and Gary Frenay, the Half Cubes.
There they are.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here.
They're on the lower half of the screen, everybody. That's in deference to the Half Cubes.
Did either of you guys come up with that name, or did somebody else?
I think Tommy takes the blame for that one.
When we started this thing, it wasn't really intended really for anything. We just started recording songs we loved. And putting the previous record together, which was Pop Masters by the Flashcubes, that also didn't start as a Flashcubes record. It started as, putting a song together that we all loved and inviting Mimi Bettinas to sing along with us. And he did. And once he did that, we just picked another couple songs and asked the artists to join us on that. So the Flashcubes Pop Masters thing was just this kind of a snowball. And during the course of it, Gary and I are home recordists, and we record all the time at home. And Paul and Artie don't. So whenever they had to record their parts, they had to get studio time somewhere. So it wasn't as easy for them to do it as it was for us. So needless to say, we finished Pop Masters, and the list of songs that we wanted to record continues to this day. So we just kept going, and seeing that it was just me and Gary, we decided I guess I decided that it would be the Half Cubes in lieu of another name. We just thought it was kind of cute, really.
Just to go back a little bit, Mimi Bettinas, for those who don't know, is the lead singer and one of the songwriters in the group Pez Band, another power pop Hall of Fame worthy band. And the song you did was "Baby It's Cold Outside," right?
Yes.
I have to give Billboard magazine credit for turning me on to that band. At the time when that album came out, I had a subscription to Billboard, and I'd always read the reviews. And they mentioned Emmett Rhodes, who I'd never heard of, and Badfinger as potential sound alikes. That was all it took. All I had to do was mention Badfinger, and I ran out and bought the record. And what a voice Mimi had, and what a great record that is.
Still has.
Yeah.
Still has, yes. And I discovered Emmett Rhodes through that one also. But I'll never forget taking Christie Girl home, which was at that time lower New York State, and putting it on and just digging it so much.
Well, thank you.
Oh, indeed. The Flashcubes formed in 1977.
Yes.
In that ballpark. Take us through a little bit how you came to be the Flashcubes. So basically, what I'm saying is, how did you guys get a start in music? Were your parents musical? Were you forced into piano lessons like I was, and then you said this isn't cool enough and I got to play something else, and move from there? What's kind of your backstory, Gary?
Well, quickly, I was a Beatle kid. I was 11 when the Beatles played on Ed Sullivan, and I changed my life. I begged my mother to get a guitar and take guitar lessons, and my die was cast very early on. So I was a guitar player, singer. In high school, I was always the kid with a guitar. It was just kind of my thing. And then years later, I had been in high school bands, and I was writing songs on my own, etc. I ended up in Syracuse working at a record store called Gerber Music, where Tommy and Paul of the Flashcubes also worked. And Paul's best friend was Artie, our guitar player, who wrote Christie Girl. And Artie and Paul had been in a band in East Syracuse for a little while, and Tommy was in another band. And so Paul and Artie and I would just talk, because Artie was always hanging out in the music store. It was a record store. They sold instruments. And we just talked about maybe starting a band. And we all liked the same music. We liked the Raspberries. We liked the British Invasion. We liked Badfinger and Beatles and just Big Star and all that stuff. And plus, we loved the stuff that was coming out, like the Jam and Eddie and the Hot Rods and all those bands from England. So we said, we're going to try to be a band. And we got together and we rehearsed one night. And then we told Tommy that we were doing this band, and he said, "What are you doing?" He was working in another store, but we would talk every day on the phones. And we said, "Oh, we're going to do, Big Star and the Raspberries and Badfinger." Tommy's like, "Oh, I got to quit this band. I'm going to join you guys." So that's kind of how it started. Tommy, you want to take it from there?
Well, okay, so I was in a top 40 band, and the truth is, I got kicked out of that band, but it was just at the same time that Gary called and said they were working on this project, and then he named a few of the songs they were doing, and I was just all in instantly. And I don't know, we started rehearsing in late summer of 1977, I guess.
Yeah, and we started writing songs right away.
Yeah. I guess it was in July, Gary, maybe? It was summer.
Yeah, summer 77.
It was our first gig.
We did was September 1st of 77.
Yeah. Were you guys aware of Big Star at that time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Loved Big Star. They were like, the triumvirate for me was Badfinger, Raspberries, and Big Star.
But to know who Big Star was in 1977, that's
not a common practice, because I didn't come to Big Star till later than that, and even a lot of people who today drop that as a reference from that time period. In 1977, they would be the first to admit that they were not. But working in record stores, you had access to a lot more things than what many of us we just heard the radio.
Seeing as I'm among like types here, can I just do a quick record collector brag?
Yes.
I was working in a record store in Rochester when that record came out. It was a 74, 75.
Yeah. Number one, you're talking about Radio City.
The one with September Girls with the red cover.
Radio City.
Radio City.
And we would get promos, and nobody knew who it was and nobody wanted it. I didn't know what it was, but I took it home, and it just blew my mind. I've still got the copy I got that was a promo. It's got like a press kit in it and everything. It's like very, very cool. I've never looked online to see what it's worth. But
I used to hear "Oh My Soul" on the radio.
That was my intro.
Really, Tommy? Holy cow.
Wow! See,
what a cool station that was.
Yeah, we didn't get that in my area.
WOUR in Utica used to play. It was like a college station. They played Artful Dodger. They played Dwight Twilley. They played Raspberries. They played Yeah, they were ahead of their time. It was a great station for cool.
Yeah, just a quick story. What happened for me was I was attending Syracuse University. I started there and transferred to NYU, but I was still up there in early '77. One of my pals at school had the two Big Star albums. I'd never heard of them, but he turned me on to them. And I had never seen them before. And I figured, I would ask record stores, can you get these? And they say, no idea. So I was really concerned. But then our at the SU bookstore said, we're going to have a $1.99 sale. We're getting all these records in. So come on down. And I said to my friend Keith, I have a feeling those albums are going to be in there. Well, lo and behold, I'm looking through the second rack and I see Radio City. And I just did one of those amazing TV double takes. I couldn't believe it.
It's a great score.
And then number one record was in another one of the boxes as well. And yeah, I mean, they were always rare. I mean, even back in the day, if you weren't lucky, if you had bought them at a collector's shop, you still have to pay $20 or $30. And now we're talking about $200 to $500.
Wow.
David, look at the enthusiasm on your face. You're like talking about somebody who remembers where they were when Kennedy got shot or something. I remember where I was.
That I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have that kind of enthusiasm.
No, I know. I'm saying it imprinted on you in a very big way.
So many. I mean, I think all of us as record collectors have those moments.
Oh yeah.
You hear about something, you don't think you're going to find it. You're looking through stores, some racks, and there it is. And those moments are the best kind of record collecting moments.
Oh, yeah.
And
we talk about those aha moments. I used to go to my local record store and I would just start at A, and just it would take me about an hour to get all the way through to Z. But I'd flip. And we talk about buying albums just based on what it looked like.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
No idea what it was about, but it had that look, and you had to take the chance on it. And many times it turns out.
Young people think we're out of our minds when we tell these stories. They can't possibly relate to that.
Yeah, it's a definite. It's an obsession.
Yeah.
But how great was it to be of that time and have had that experience? I've got a 30-year-old daughter who loves to do that. We lament. What's the record store up in New Brunswick?
Vintage Vinyl. Yeah.
Vintage Vinyl. She and I used to go up there all the time and just go A to Z and everywhere else. And she loved finding old albums. And to this day, she goes to whatever record store she can find. And I think it's a wonderful thing. But sadly, a dying thing. But oh my gosh, we have to say hi. Michael McCartney checked in from.
Hey, Michael.
From Hawaii.
We hope you're doing well.
We hope you're doing well, my friend. DJ out of Hawaii, that was part of the great tragedy going on out there over the last couple of years.
Yeah. When my wife and I went to Maui, he was kind enough to he was kind enough to give us a tour and then take us into his radio show, which was very, very nice of him.
God bless you there, Michael. Good to see you.
Hello, Michael.
Mahalo. So did you, the one venue when I was a student at Syracuse that I went to was the Jabberwocky, was it?
Yeah.
Did you guys play there? I assume many times.
Yeah. It was like our breakthrough moment. We used to play in the rural clubs, and then some SU kids found us because they heard there was like a new wave band in Syracuse, and they just kept saying, you've got to come up and play on campus. Jabberwocky was a club on the SU campus. And as soon as we played there, everything started to happen for us.
Wow. How was that? Were there label people in the crowd?
No. It's just that they were downstate kids, like people from Long Island and the tri-state area who knew who Patti Smith and Television and the Ramones were, and suddenly they had a new wave band of their own, and they were like, oh my God. They told all their friends, and we had huge crowds then.
That's amazing.
And you were doing obviously doing a lot of cover stuff of the bands that you loved, but were you sneaking in your originals at that point and getting any kind of reaction to that kind of stuff?
What do you think, Tom? When we first played jazz, by 6 months in, weren't we mostly original by then?
I think we were largely original.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We were sort of the first band in Syracuse to do that, to just do our own songs. That was sort of what we were known for. And you couldn't, if you wanted to hear those songs, you had to come see us because we didn't have records out. We didn't have anything. It was just on stage.
Was Chris von Snydern part of that scene?
He was a little younger, but yeah, he was coming up in it. He was like, I don't know, 80, 81 maybe, Tommy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's about when I met Chris.
Yeah.
In that time, yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of like a wonders moment,
All right, so Christie Girl gets some airplay around the city.
It did, yeah. And in Utica, Rochester, some of those areas.
Well, the biggest deal for us is that it was on the jukebox at Max's Kansas City. That was
yeah, right.
We'd walk in the door, and the guy who booked the club at the time was a fan. And if you got your 45 on the Max's jukebox, that was a real
God,
yeah.
And you couldn't even really take a good selfie with it in those days, right?
No.
Well, and having that record out, let's see, that record actually came after this, right? I mean, when did that record come out? It's later in 78. But one of the first big things for us was in March of 78, playing a show at one of the rural bars I mentioned, opening for the Runaways and the Ramones, a 3-band bill.
Wow.
And at the show was Greg Shaw. So for us, that was like a really big deal because we knew Bop Music and Bop Records and the magazine and everything.
Yeah.
And he certainly started writing a lot about you guys.
Yeah.
He was an early supporter.
So early on, when you guys are writing music, did you you obviously had the confidence that you could do this and you could go out and play them live. What was the writing process like? Were you doing individual stuff, or did you kind of bash your heads together and say, well, what do you got? Where do I go with this?
I think it was all individual. I had been a songwriter from the time I started playing guitar. So when the band started, I probably, and this is not to brag, but I probably had 100 songs I'd already written.
Holy cow.
On my own, none that weren't really that good, but I was writing, and Artie too, probably less. He had probably 10, 20 songs he'd written. Paul had never written. But then as the band would rehearse at Tommy's house each week, we would just keep coming in with songs. It was competitive in a good way. Like when I read about bands, the Beatles or whatever, and they would talk about, there was this competitive fire that sort of kept them going, and Artie would come in with a good song, and I was like, oh, I got to do that. And then Paul was like, no, I got to try and do that. So yeah, we fed off of each other.
Yeah. And were you, what was kind of your process, Gary? Were you a melody person in your head, or were you a lyrics guy? Did it kind of come equal amounts?
I was more of a melody pop kind of guy. Every song that I wrote in the Flashcubes, I was just trying to be Eric Carmen. If you listen to some of my songs in the Flashcubes, No Promise, I Want to Stay All Night, No More Lonely Nights, they're all me trying to be Eric Carmen.
Well, I mean,
at this point, I mean, you're playing in New York City as well. Are labels starting to find out about you and courting you?
We thought so.
We did a lot of showcases, and record company people, many saw us and rejected us. But
we've got letters still.
We kept trying, It was I don't know that we actually ever, got close. We had people sniffing, but I don't think they liked what they smelled. I don't know.
What do you think it was about you that was it the songs? Was it your playing? Was it your look?
I don't know.
I remember several things. When John Tiven was at Big Sound Records,
yeah,
he liked us, but he said, you've got 3 lead singers. He says, that doesn't work for me. He says, there should be one guy singing every song. And I'm thinking Buffalo Springfield, the Beach Boys, the Beatles. Every band I liked had different lead singers. So
I know,
I didn't get that. There was a guy who managed AC/DC back then from Australia named Michael Browning. He was really interested in us. He came to Syracuse, saw us playing a club, and it looked like we were ready to sign a deal with him. And then he got deported over tax evasion or something.
Oh,
it was just like the floor dropped out from under us.
That was the closest we got.
That was the closest, yeah. Because he was a big shot. Yeah, he was the real thing. And there were other management people and labels along the way that courted with us, and for whatever reason, they just fell apart.
But you probably had at least enough songs to put an album out, right?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But not something you wanted to do on your own, I guess.
Well, we sort of did with Bill Murphy. We did a record. We did, I don't know how many tunes were on it, 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And we shopped that around, and it was, I think that was essentially a Flashcubes album that never really got released.
Yeah.
Why
And a
don't
lot
you-
of those songs ended up on the Bright Lights anthology that we finally released years later.
Right. I should go get that. But what was I going to ask? I mean, thoughts about maybe having that album come out? I could definitely direct you to some labels. Not to put you on the spot or anything.
I think all of those songs are out in the various releases we've had over the years. I don't think there's any unused. And we're working on a couple of new songs now, just as a palate cleanser. So maybe something. I don't know what we'll do with them, but we're still making music.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's interesting though when you look back at that time period and a lot of the UK bands that were coming over, the guitar bands, the good power pop harmony. It kind of does make me scratch my head as to why you guys weren't involved in the feeding frenzy that was signing a lot of the skinny tie UK bands and things. But you don't know. Time and place.
There was 150 bands like us that were,
exactly. That's the thing.
There's 1,000 bands like us that were
the ones that we know about. The ones we know about are ones that did get signed, whether it was to a major or even to an indie label. We don't stop and consider, well, what about all the ones who didn't make it and never released their stuff? Yeah. As well, this might be a good time actually because Mark mentioned the British invasion guys, or in this particular case, the new invasion of new wave.
The new wave. And
this might be a good time to play one of those tracks that you covered here. This is a track. It's the lead-off track on the album Pop Treasures. It's Love's Melody, which is a track that the Searchers first did on their Love's Melodies album, which is one of my favorite albums of all time, by the way. I'm one of those people who think that
first done by Dux Deluxe.
Oh, that's true. You're right. And
but Searchers version was the first one I heard, I think.
I always think about it that way, but you're right. Yeah, Dux Deluxe did do it first, and their version's actually pretty good. But I think the Searchers. Yeah. Let's put it this way: the Searchers were better in their comeback than they were in their original. Most people don't think that because they don't know about these albums.
They're great.
They're great. Yeah.
And you guys did a really, really nice job of it. So let's play a lead-off track from Pop Treasures, Love's Melody by the Half Cubes. There's Tommy with it.
Looking for love, but it don't come along. And just when the feeling is right, when something goes wrong. Then every day you're looking for someone to come along and smile your
Man.
Yeah, that's
This is a
fucking great.
common thread throughout Pop Treasures is that you guys captured, a lot of times when people do covers, they're not, for lack of a better phrase, they're not nuanced, but you guys always covered the nuances, those little things that made the original versions really, really great. Like, a guitar lick here, or
You have to,
a xylophone hit there. And you guys really did it on Love's Melody, I'll tell you. And added a few of your own.
not only that Gary sang it like he was made to sing that song. It's like, it's so in the pocket of what we love and what we do and what I feel we're good at. It's like honestly, that's such a great lead-off track for our record. It's sort of, it opens the book in a great way.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm so glad we opened the album.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Tommy, the Gary vocals, man, they're just so good, so spot on. And Tommy, you killed it on the drums too. The drum,
the opening, yeah,
and the drums, the sound.
Okay, I got to tell you, the thing with me and Gary, we are simpatico in so many ways. In music, we see things and hear things mostly the same way. But with Randy Klawan, who's the guitar player, he's like one of us, and Fernando Perdomo, who's largely on this.
He's
record.
Everywhere. That guy.
He's everywhere.
Well, he's a genius, and these two guys, they're yin and yang of their instruments, and they add such a real power to our record. I mean, they're really just they're like one of us, both of them, and that is really, really, really cool.
And just so people know who Randy is, Randy Klawan was a guitar player in the choir in Cleveland in the 60s. And so he's an older guy, but he plays like a guy half his age. He plays with such energy and precision that every time we send him a track that we're working on, the things that come back just make you laugh. It's so good. It's just so good.
And of course, I think anybody that watches our program or knows anything about music these days, Fernando Perdomo. I mean, you don't.
I call him the zealot of pop because he's everywhere you look, there he is.
Well, he's a force of nature. He's a magical musician, and
it's honestly, really insane. I know.
Every note that comes out of that guy's being is genius to me.
And I feel bad. I've never met him. We've made all this music together, but I've never met him.
Trust me, you will.
I know I will.
I guarantee you that.
It's like the Leonard Zelig.
Before we go any further, just so everybody knows, I put up the album cover. Half Cubes Pop Treasures is the title of the album, and across the bottom of our screen is the banner. That's bigstirrecords.com. I'm sure you could probably get it at a bunch of places if you just Google it, but bigstirrecords.com will give you all the information on this fantastic new release. And Pop Treasures, it's 24 tracks of.
It's crazy, right?
By the way, guys,
I got a list in front of me of 10 songs that we've recorded that we didn't have enough room on the record to get.
Oh, Lord.
When we did it, another volume's coming.
Gary was like, should we turn this into 2 records? And I said, no, we have to put as much music on this as we can. And if we live long enough, we'll make a volume 2.
Yeah.
Please,
By the way, guys, just a little geek thing in case you didn't know. The Love's Melodies album in the UK has a different cover, and it doesn't have a little bit of heaven. It has a completely different track.
What's the other track?
Pardon?
What's the other track?
I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah, I feel like I've read that before, Dave, but I can't remember what it is though now.
That track is on the Omnivore put out a Searcher's Comp with the 2 albums, and that track is on there. But yeah. I remember actually I was in an old restaurant in North Wales after IPO Liverpool, and it had really bad Wi-Fi, and I was bidding on the UK copy of the album, and it was coming down to like 10 seconds, and I was so worried that the Wi-Fi was going to go out and I wasn't going to get it, but fortunately that didn't happen. Anyway, you and Gary, you and Tommy don't live in the same city right now, do you?
No, we're both from Syracuse. Tommy's from there, but he moved to New York.
Right. So when you in this process, did you guys get together, or did you always do things separately and then send each other stuff?
It's all through the mail, all through the internet.
We haven't been in a recording studio together since
Close to 20 years.
early 2000s.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we were making the Roy Wood album was the last time I think we actually tracked together.
Yeah, that would have been 2007.
Yeah, something like that.
But also, I've been using the digital stuff since about 2004. So the last 20 years, basically recording things at home and in my studio. So, if you have an idea, you can wake up and put it down. You don't have to call somebody and book studio time. It's just the way it is now.
Isn't that amazing, though?
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing because like so many of these tracks on this album, Pop Treasures, are, the genre, the sound of that time, and a lot of these tracks. There's an urgency to the music. The music really drives. It kicks. There's a certain edge there, and it's amazing that you could capture that so well by not being in the same room together.
But it's
That comes
amazing
from
what you
Tommy as
can
a
do.
producer.
I got to tell you, it's amazing what you can do when you love something.
Yeah.
And that's really what this was about.
Yeah, well, we talked before we went on air, Tommy. I was going to mention something on air, but a lot of these tracks, you weren't trying to do something different with them. There's not that much where you're saying let's go completely off the rails and slow this down. And you stayed so true. But you
They
also
added your
yes,
you added
you
your own
guys
stamp for sure.
did it the way you both, because you know each other so well, the way you both have always heard it in your head.
Yes.
It's very close, but there's also something that you're pulling things out that you heard. And,
yes, very well put. That's really what it was. We when you're doing these covers and you love these songs, that they are perfect. To us, they are perfect. These are our heroes. These are the songs that made us want to do music in the first place.
Right.
These are artists that we love. These are songs that shaped us. So the intention was to do these songs with reverence, not necessarily paint by numbers, but to keep the essence of what we loved, what drew us to these songs in the first place, had to be there. You couldn't just do it with the chords and the words. You had to be in it. You had to understand what the intention of the original artist was in order to take that intention and do it from that starting point. And that's what I was trying to do. And we love these songs. So our intention was to honor them and not fail. And so we tried to pick songs that we could. There were some songs, on our list that we couldn't do. If you can't do it justice, and if you think you can't do it, you probably can't. Yeah. So we did songs we felt that were in our wheelhouse, that represented us, but also offered the kind of thing that we do automatically. So that's what we did, and I think it came out really good.
It really did. And occasionally you had some members or even main people of the original act who did the song, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Madness. Oh, by the way, I found this out from Vivica. It's Magnus Borjesson.
Yeah, Magnus
Borjesson.
Oh,
it took us 5 minutes during that interview to get that correct.
Well, however you pronounce it, the guy's amazing.
Yeah.
He is.
Well, as I was saying, also, so many of these tracks on here are some iconic, and thank you, John Barger did say iconic. To me, the original versions gave me chills when I first heard it, and every time I hear them. Putting on an album like this, which is not the original version, and when I hear a song like Spinning the Wheel, and it gives me chills because it is doing the same thing to me that the original did to me in your version.
Man, that was
Talk about an underrated band, the Hudson Brothers. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Their albums still aren't even out on CD. It's criminal.
It is criminal. Yeah, David. Somebody should be arrested.
Mark Hudson is a genius, and he's an amazing guy.
I once interviewed the Hudson brothers for Discoveries magazine, and the interview went so off the rails because those guys were so funny.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
It was unusable. but I got a lot of laughs. So, and yeah, Mark is definitely the main. Yeah, he's the main perpetrator of that for sure.
He's amazing.
Still going strong and still with such a great attitude. And I've got video of singing a duet with him with doing Rendezvous, which is one of my favorite things to hang on to. And just a great guy. Still doing it. Still killing it.
He's just is music, you know.
He really is.
Music.
I need to find his albums. They're impossible to get. I mean, even on Discogs.
Go to his website. He sells them right out of his suitcase.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
All right. Well, then I'm going there.
You have to, because they're both really, amazing. Brilliant records.
That's wonderful. Now, on some of the songs here, you didn't necessarily get the original singer, but you did get other people other than Gary to sing. And one of those songs, and you mentioned this person earlier, is "My Girl," a song by Eric Carmen from his debut album. Oh, thank you, Michael. Obviously, tragically, you couldn't get Eric to be on this record because he's gone, but you did get somebody who's a huge Raspberries acolyte and a very talented man in his own right, Darian Sahanaja, and he did a wonderful lead vocal on this track. And if it's okay, I'd like to play it.
Sure.
It's certainly one of my favorite Eric Carmen songs and a power pop classic. Here's "My Girl" by Half Cubes.
Sometimes it's hard to know what your heart is feeling, and harder still to put it into words. Love is simple, you can't define it.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting chills hearing your version. That almost never happens.
It's an amazing song.
With a cover. It really doesn't, but you
That
guys
song,
did such an amazing job on that.
that song was on the list really early on, and it was one that we kept pushing aside because of, it's a perfect record. How do you do a perfect record? And it was always it was like the mountaintop. And when Eric passed away, it was actually 2 or 3 days before I learned of his death that I had the idea that we were going to do this. And I reached out to members of his original band that played on his first record to see if they'd be interested in joining us. And I, in my heart of hearts, if I got them to say yes, then I knew we were going to move forward with the tune. And Steve Nill, who was the original bass player in the Eric Carmen band, said yes, that he would join us. And he gave me contact information for the remaining living members of that original touring band and the people that played on the first record. And I reached out to them, and I didn't really hear back from anybody. And now that I knew that Steve was in, I saw, okay, we have the foundation. We have a certain level of authenticity there that we can move on. And I reached out to Darian to see if he'd be interested in singing, because I know it was one of his favorite songs. And he was ambivalent at first.
Because it's a bear. It's a hard song to sing.
He loved the idea, but
Yeah.
he wasn't sure he could do it justice.
Yeah.
And so we went ahead and I said, we're going to start building a track. So the idea was we were going to try to make a track as good as we could make it so that the people we asked to join us couldn't say no. So that was what we did. So Gary and I put the track together. Steve played the bass, and we fleshed it out and we sent it to Darian, and he sang it, and he did an absolutely brilliant job. He did the same thing with his vocal on that song that we are attempted to do on every song that we chose, and that is keep the original essence of the original recording and have that be part of the thing. Like when he does the vibrato, it's just he like took it from years of listening to that record and learning from it, and the listening experience that sort of forms you and gets inside you, and that came out. And I'm really grateful that he was able to sing on it, and that he got Matt Jardine and Jim Laspiza to participate as well. Those guys.
There's a bunch of us singing on that record.
I was going to say, what are some of the challenges when you're not around a microphone together in building the layers of harmonies like that? That's got to be a little daunting.
We had a little bit of a cheat sheet on this because Bernie Hojay, who runs Eric Carmen's website, is a dear friend of mine. And he had the original soloed background vocal take from My Girl. So we were able to listen to exactly what they all sang. And so Gary and I had that. We picked our parts. We sent that to Darian and his group.
They picked their parts.
They each picked their parts. And so everybody knew what was on the record. And it's funny because when you hear the vocal soloed from his record, it's like you hear things that you don't hear on the record. So the clarity there gave us the roadmap to put that together with the background vocals.
And Darian's always been that way. I mean, I knew him back in the day, and when he did a cover, he was always meticulous about everything.
He's one of the best. He's just he's a gem. He's a gem of a person and a freaking genius musician.
Huge, yeah.
Now you could have.
I want to go back to the Flashcubes a little bit now. All right, so and I may be wrong about this, but it appeared like starting in the '80s and going until the last part of the last century, as it were, seemed like you guys were on hiatus. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, because the band broke up in 1980. Tommy and I and Artie Lennon, the three of us, went on a screen test. So we were a band for 6 years through the early 80s. Or, I don't know, a little less power pop, a little more sort of dance pop, as was the time of the early 80s, MTV videos, British music, etc. And then Tommy moved to New York in the late 80s, and Artie and I continued to make music together throughout. But the Flashcubes sort of went away. And we really, the resurgence happened in a large part because of Carl Caffarelli writing an article about us in the Power Pop issue of Goldmine, and suddenly there was this renewed interest. Then we got, I'm not sure who put the Yellow Pills CD out.
Jordan Oaks.
Jordan Oaks, yeah. They put one of our songs on there. And
All
then
right,
that
yeah.
led to other things. And then we decided to put together the Bright Lights CD when CDs became more prominent in collections like that. So
I think before Bright Lights, though, we did an IPO out in California, isn't that?
no, Bright Lights is 97 and the first IPO was 98.
Yeah, you might have done. I think you guys did Poptopia. I think that's where I met you guys at first.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And then when I started IPO, you guys came out for that.
Yeah, we did it twice, 98 and 2000.
Yep.
Mm.
And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that.
We had a lot of fun. That Chicago one was amazing.
I think you played in Boston too.
Yeah.
We did Boston. That was amazing too.
Yeah, definitely a few cities.
But David and Mark, the amazing thing for us about coming out in, I think it was 2000, was that there was some Japanese kids there who had heard us because we had a song on the Yellow Pills cassette.
Mm.
And they loved us, and they bought Bright Lights, the CD, and took it back with them and gave it to the label in Japan, who eventually put our stuff out over there, which led to us doing tours over there. So everything sort of feeds off of one thing into
It
another.
does. Was that Airmail?
Airmail recordings, yeah. Hiroshi Kus.
Hiroshi, yeah. Hiroshi
Yeah.
was great about bringing certain acts out to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm so glad. I always love hearing stories about things happening organically like that. It's wonderful.
Amazing.
Can you just briefly? I've been popping up the album cover. Whatever, we play some songs here. Can you just talk briefly about whose idea it was to come up with the treasure chest with all the singles on a beautiful beach, and then have the gold record on the inside?
That all goes to the credit of Bernie Hoje, who is a brilliant art director. And he's the co-creator of the Got Milk ad campaign. He's the curator of Eric Carmen's website. He's a dear friend and a great guy and a musician himself. And he has done us the great favor of creating this cover and the whole notion of the treasure chest and the 45s in it. It's just
yeah, it's like almost like you found a little writing or log from a ship or something on the back. With everything, it's just a well done package as well.
Yeah, he conceptualizes these things and just carries it through.
Yeah,
it's like if you look at the record, the cover of it, and it tells you kind of what's inside. It's great.
Yeah,
it really is. It's just it's well done. And in a day and age where, you know, this is not the size of a vinyl record and things, to be able to be that eye catching in these small packages is great. Really wonderful. I just had to bring that up.
Thank you for that.
Because
I'm glad you noticed and mentioned.
Yeah, I just want to pop it up one more time. There it is. It's Half Cubes, Pop Treasures. What a great album cover. And it's BigStirRecords.com. That's where you can find it. Some people go out there right now. I'm sure if you Google Half Cubes, you'll be able to find it in a bunch of different areas. But Big Stir is a wonderful label to be on, and good friends of ours, and they did a great job with it. But
yeah, we're lucky that they put our stuff out. We're really happy with them.
Yeah, they are good.
And the best thing has happened. It's really great.
Yeah, there's something else. Now you could have picked who's I guess you both are Delamitri fans. You could have picked a ton of Delamitri fans, but not where or songs, not where it's at. What prompted that particular Delamitri song?
Well, it's one of their greatest songs. I mean, they have a lot of great songs. You're right.
Yeah.
But that one has all of the stuff in it. It's like a song that is meant to be done by us. And Gary sings the shit out of it.
Yeah, well, Artie and I had been doing that as a cover just on our own, not with Tommy, for the last 10 years here, just at gigs around Syracuse. We would, nobody knew the song already. We would just say, here's a great song, and we would do it. So when Tommy started talking about Delamitri, I was like, geez, can we do that one? I mean, I already know that one, and there's nothing better,
Yeah. Yeah, it's they're one of my favorite acts, period. And Justin Curry's solo stuff is some of my favorite stuff.
It's a genius.
Amazing. Gary recorded one of his songs a few years back called
Just Getting By.
Oh, Just Getting By. It's from his solo record. It's amazing.
He got me through my divorce. His first solo album got me through my divorce, which he was doing all about his relationship at the time as well. So
yeah, he's amazing.
Great stuff. And you picked a great track. Not Where It's At. It is so well done. As you said, Gary kills the vocal. It just, I mean, people, you got to get out there and get this thing. We're talking about all this stuff, and this is not just this is not to pump up their ego because they're on our show. This is really that good. I mean,
and the thing about it is, you know, when you hear their versions, it's going to give you the same kind of chills that the original ones did. At least it does for me. And I can't say that about any other tribute act, any other tribute compilation.
The desired effect. I'm glad that it affected you that way, because
it really did. We mentioned the Hudson Brothers earlier, a band that definitely has been given short shrift, in my opinion, because of the TV show. It was a blessing and a curse. Same thing with like a band like Klaatu, because of the Beatles connection. That was a blessing and a curse. Well, another band who you covered on here, or in this case a duo with a band, Flo and Eddie. Their albums are definitely not taken seriously enough, because there were a lot of comedy moments on a few of them. But when they wanted to take it seriously, those were the two main guys from the Turtles, and they were as good a pair of pop writers as you can possibly get. Yep. And you did a cover of a song that was on their Illegal, Immoral, and Fattening album, which is one that probably of their 4 albums, that one has the most comedy. So people again tend to dismiss it, but man, let me tell you, when they were serious on this album, they hit on all cylinders. So here's your version of the Flo and Eddie track, Let Me Make Love to You.
Beautiful.
Finally, all my wishes have all come true. How could I be so lucky to spend the night with you in solitude? Here in the loneliness house, it's just me and you. Now we don't need to speak. It's not the thing to do. Why don't you let me make love to you? Draw me nearer to you. Closer, baby, closer. And hands in your arms. Well, you've had all the lovers, but not like me. I can't help but feel like we both found what we need to settle down. Maybe the two of us should be made of one. What does it really matter? You like
I get that, John.
tonight. Don't stop me. Let me make love to you. Draw me nearer to you. Closer, my baby, closer to me. Let me make love to you. Draw me nearer to you. Closer, my baby, closer to me. Let me make love to you. Draw me nearer to you. Closer, my baby, closer to me.
I like that little harmony bit you put on the end.
Yeah, well,
I just want to note, Mark, you had a big smile on your face for the entire 2 minutes that song was playing. That makes us feel great.
oh, no,
No, it's a great version of a great song.
how can you not? I mean,
Happy music.
I'll tell you what, it's just anybody I talk to, and since I've gotten this record, there's musicians that live around me here that play South Jersey and things. One of the guys from the Hooters and a couple of people like that. And I tell them that you just got to take my word for this and pick this up. and they go out and they listen to it online, and they're like, "You're right." And I know some of them have ordered this thing. It's just that good. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's an amazing song. Gary again sings the shit out of it, and his son Nick plays the horns. He's got the live horns that are really right from
nice.
It's a great song.
Yeah, I mean, again, Flo and Eddie is one of those bands that people really need to revisit if it's been a long time. Their first album on Reprise,
their version of
Eddie,
their version of Afterglow is like my favorite.
That's on the second album. Yeah, they did an amazing Afterglow, and then Moving Targets, which is just a whole album full of pop gems.
Yeah,
like Keep It Warm, for example.
Yeah.
But man, you picked them one of their best songs, and you really did it justice.
Thank you.
You really did. One last track I want to play from the album. This is a really inspired choice because it's one I found about it. I found out about only when I got a compilation of these guys. That's right. You're looking for the night. Don't stop me. Yeah. We could go into that whole PC thing, but let's not. Anyway, I only thought about these guys as being little kids, riding on the coattails of their famous fathers when they released most of their stuff in the mid 60s. I mean, they did have some pretty cool tunes, but this one I always thought was their best song, and obviously a very, very strong Beach Boys connection to this one. And you also for this one you got somebody who has a strong connection to the Beach Boys themselves, Rob Bonfiglio, to sing lead. But man, I mean, out of all the tracks you picked on here to do, this is probably I just thought this was like the most amazing choice, and it's very inspired. Most people don't know this song, and they really should.
It's a desert island classic for me. It's a song, I've loved it forever. We both have, and it's just we're great. We're really happy that to have Rob on it because he's perfect. He's perfect,
and he was close to Billy.
Absolutely.
Who wrote the song? So it's really fun.
Yeah.
Here we go. In case you don't know yet, or even if you do know, it's Tell Someone You Love Them, originally by Dino, Desi, and Billy, right here by Half Cubes.
If you're not feeling happy, having fun, don't go and hide away. You'll be the lonely one. Tell someone you love them. Tell someone you care, and you'll be there. Your life was meant to be happy, don't you feel blue? Just think of love and love will come to you. Tell someone you love them. Tell someone you care, and you'll be there. Falling in love is part of the fun. Falling in love is everyone. Stop being shy, come on now, get in and try. Oh my, my, my. Tell me you love me. Tell me you care, and I'll be there. We can be grooving all the time, and I'll be moving you in your mind. We can be sure to make it now, give it a try. Falling in love is part of the fun. Falling in love is everyone. Stop being shy, come on now, give it a try. Oh
Okay, that song is so great, and the record. Okay, it was hard to do because that record has so much charm.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't take it. It's like we tried to cover an Emmett Rhodes song, and we had the same problem. Is that you can't capture the charm. We did a great job, and I love our version, but the record, the original record of that, is just a moment in time that is just delightful.
You definitely hit the nail on the head, because for me, even the first time I heard it, it felt like, okay, the turbulent 60s had ended, and now we're in the more laid back kind of 70s, and it has that really, as you said, that charm, that laid back vibe, that things are now peaceful. Even though the Vietnam was still going, there wasn't as much turmoil here.
And these kids, they were like 15 years old when they made that record. It's unbelievable.
It actually changed by then. Yeah.
Was there somebody in the studio behind that, though, Tommy? Was there like a Kurt Betcher or somebody like that who helped make that record?
They had to be, because the playing on that record is amazing. So
It's probably Wrecking Crew guys, right?
It's probably
I think some of Brian's people, yeah. Brian Wilson.
The musicianship on the record is stunning.
And your version, David alluded a few minutes ago to Klaatu. My good friend Terry Draper from Klaatu always said anything worth doing is worth overdoing. And on that track, I kept picking out these little things you had in the background going on, and they weren't repeated in different areas. They were just like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little taste of something here, and then a little taste of here, and I was just like, oh, wait, I got it. We put some extra little bells and whistles in there, and then when Rob submitted his vocals, he put some unexpected and absolutely wonderful nuances in there that were really his own. He made it his own, which he did.
Yeah, he's such an amazing and original musician. It was just such a treat.
Indeed, he is. He's written some incredible songs in his own right. Well, I've been saying, both Mark and I have been gushing over this record for an hour now, and we could continue to talk about it. But I want to ask you this: are you guys, as Half Cubes, ever planning on going out and doing shows featuring these songs?
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know how you could do it. I mean, it's a great fantasy, but I don't know how you could do it. We'd have to assemble like a Brian Wilson band, of all these people, because these records are not just double, triple, and 4-tracked. I mean, there's tons of stuff on there.
Oh, the harmonies alone you would have to have the Brian Wilson backup band just to tackle that. Brian Wilson, assemble.
I'll sometimes ask Tommy about a certain song and what we're doing, and he said, well, we're up to 160 tracks.
The object here was for Gary and I to record the songs we love and invite the artists to join us if they chose to do so.
Yes.
We had a great time doing it. We're still doing it. Anything beyond making the music is out of our hands.
Yeah,
we make the music and hope that people like it. We're really glad that you guys liked it.
Yeah,
you loved it. We love it, and we're gonna, we hope that this show does convince people to go buy this record.
Oh, indeed. We get the word out. It's just I tell everybody I know it. It's just, I mean, 24 tracks. I've played through. I don't know how many times I've played through it since I've gotten this thing a week ago or so, and I can't get enough of it. And the better headphones I put on too, I hear more stuff going on. That's what I love about it. It's like, wait a second.
That's exactly what we hope to have here. We're working on a song right now with the guys from Artful Dodger.
Wow.
And,
are you working with Billy or Gary Cox?
We're working with Gary Herwig and Steve Cooper.
Steve Cooper.
On their great song, Think, which has always been one of our favorites. So we'll see how that happens.
We had Coop and Billy on the show 2 years ago about David, probably.
Yeah.
Of course, Billy's been fighting the cancer battle. We wish him the best, but
they're one of my very favorite bands.
We did a gig with them in '79.
Oh wow!
Them, yeah.
And of course, we've been lobbying to try to get somebody to re-release Rave On CD. It's never been. Our good friend Bruce Brodine's been working on that for quite some time. It's just it's a hard thing to pull off, but that's an album right there.
Great record.
What about the Flashcubes? Are you guys planning on going out and doing shows, writing new songs?
We have written new songs, as Tommy alluded to earlier. We're about halfway into making. I don't know. Maybe it'll be an EP. We each wrote a new song, Paul, Artie, and I, and we're going to pick a cover. So we'll have 4 songs. I don't think it'll be an album. I don't see that we have that much collective energy anymore. But yeah, it sounds like the Flashcubes. It sounds good.
Well, we look forward to that, and I just want to put it out there. If the Flashcubes ever want to come out to the Cavern to play IPO Liverpool, you are more than welcome. And I can tell you this: it would be an experience that you would never regret that you did. Not even one scintilla of regret. It would be one of the best times of your life.
Well,
So
okay. It's great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
cool.
we'll definitely keep that invitation in mind.
please do.
But guys, thanks for number one, your career, but number two, making this record. I know there's a lot of hard work that went into all these tracks. When David and I were discussing it days ago or last week, we were on upcoming show. I was just like, it's hard to imagine the work that went in to not only 10 or 12 tracks, but 24 tracks of this thing. Just amazing body of work. And
nobody listens to them more when we're making them than Tommy Allen. He's so obsessed.
Tommy,
I gotta tell you, when you love what you do, it's just I'm telling you, I have to say that every moment was a joy because I love these songs, and it was just a joyful experience for me.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely shows, and more people get their hands on this thing, the more they're just going to love it. Guaranteed. This is one I guarantee. I don't guarantee a lot of CDs we talk about, but this one I guarantee. Yeah.
And like I said, you're going to get the same kind of chills you got when you first heard the originals.
That's exactly right. Yeah, very much so.
You can quote me on that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Well, guys, thanks for being here. We really, really appreciate it. This is a great interview and great album. And best of luck with it. Once again, it is Pop Treasures. It's we'll pop up the album cover. The Half Cubes, Pop Treasures. The banner is BigStirRecords.com. Go out to Big Stir Records. You'll find Half Cubes information. You'll find Flashcubes. You'll find all their great releases. Absolutely wonderful. So pick this thing up. It'll be the buy of the year. It's the best all covers album I have ever heard in my life, and
yes,
that's a lot of albums that I've heard. So cheers, guys. Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Have a great rest of the day and week, and we'll see you soon, I hope.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Tommy. Nice to virtually meet you. See you.
Yeah. You too.
That was wonderful.
Oh man, that was.
You love hearing about musicians who love what they do. I mean, most musicians at least like it, or they wouldn't be doing it. It's certainly not lucrative for most of them in any way, but you could just sense the love that he had for both of them for putting this record together. And
very much so. You could tell Tommy has a passion for the production side of things and getting all the little intricacies right and doing it so well. And Gary's voice is killer. I mean, still,
it really is. And on the ones that he wasn't sure they would be able to pull off with him singing, they got other people.
Yeah, they seem like talented fellows. Kind of, Carl. Good stuff. Wow, that was wonderful. Episode number 172 of Material Issues with the Half Cubes, half of the Flashcubes of their new album, Pop Treasures. Man, go out and get it. If you haven't gotten it, go get it. Get it. That's all I can say.
Oops, excuse me. What was I going to say? Well, this was fun, and we've got some more fun guests.
Yes, we do.
Up. Yes. First guest in October. First guest in October. The author of this book, No Big Deal, talking about his times where he was the head of Big Deal, the label who released so many great records in the 90s, including records by Splitsville, by Glad Hands, Adam Marsland, so many other people, and he's a really cool guy. So this is the book. I don't know if it's out yet. It's probably pretty close, and we look forward to having him on the show. Mr. Dean Brownrout
Nice.
will be our guest on October 2nd.
That'd be fun.
I don't know if do we have anyone scheduled for the 9th yet?
No, we don't. I think the 9th is open. Actually, the next couple weeks are open, aren't they?
Well, no, on the 16th.
Oh, that's right. Wait, yeah, go ahead.
On the 16th, we have any of you who have bought the Cherry Red compilations, and there have been many of them over the years.
We just booked it. Yeah.
Mostly dealing with this with 60s tracks, the famous and the obscure, sitting side by side. It, as you mentioned to me, Mark, last week, the amount of work that it takes to put together those compilations, to get licensing for those songs, and then to write the liner notes, and on those Cherry Red, Grapefruit, RPM, all those comps, the note taking was absolutely beyond thorough.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to talk to the person who is mostly responsible for those things, and he's going to be on Material Issues on October 16th. We're talking about David Wells. Liner note writer for a lot of different projects, but mostly for Cherry Red. Mm-hmm. And those comps are great. We were talking about Pour a Little Sugar on it that just came out. And some of the tracks on there are just incredibly obscure. I mean, I fancy myself an expert on bubblegum, but there were a lot of things on there I'd never heard or heard of. So
and kudos to you, because we just kind of talked about it. I said we should have someone like David Wells on the show and really get into how this comes about, because it's amazing. And you turned around and you got in touch with them and booked them, and this is really going to be an interesting show.
It's going to be very cool. Yeah. We look forward to it. And then the week after, I don't believe we have anyone, but the week after that we do. Tell us about it.
Yeah, on the last day, right before Halloween, on the 30th of October, we've got Mike Scavone. Mike was in the Doughboys in the 60s and then brought the Doughboys back again, a couple of decades later. He plays with our good friend Richard X. Heyman. He spent time on 2 albums with Ram Jam. Of course, Ram Jam is known for Black Betty, but that's the one song Mike didn't sing on, which is really kind of funny. We're going to have to figure out, we're going to ask him about that. But Ram Jam, always one of my favorites. And he was in that. And now he's touring with whatever makes up the Yardbirds now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's kind of, they tour the world. And Mike was really, I've been trying for 2 months to try to find an open Wednesday that he wasn't going to be busy and on tour and doing stuff, and it worked out on the 30th that he'll be able to join us live. Matter of fact, I just got an email from him about half an hour ago during the show we were doing, just confirming everything and saying he was looking forward to it. So Mike Scavone on the 30th. Doughboys, Yardbirds, Ram Jam. That'll be cool.
And yes, it will. And of course, as always, we have irons in the fire. I kind of gave away earlier that we're trying to book Robin Hitchcock for the show. Keep my fingers crossed.
Yep.
I mean, we did have Kimberly Rue and Lee Cave Berry, and Kimberly, of course, was one of the band members of the Soft Boys, which was Robin's first known band.
Right.
And, so hopefully we get him as well. But again, we have no idea who we're going to get, but we'll get them. Whoever they are, we'll get them.
Yeah, we always have irons in the fire, and it's just amazing. Last week we just kind of casually said we should have a guy like David Wells on the show, and David got David, and stuff like that pops up all the time. So make sure you subscribe to Material Issues here on Facebook or on YouTube or whatnot, and you'll see who we've got coming up. We usually put a post a day or two before the show saying what's going on, and on the days that we don't have anybody, David has all kinds of new releases to talk about. We we got more Stump the Bash coming up, which is always fun. So, we're 172 episodes into this thing, and we thought maybe we'd do 10 episodes when we first started. So
as long as people are there who want to watch, we're happy to keep doing them.
Yeah, and well, on the 23rd, actually, I'll be back down in Florida with my girl. So we'll see whether that's an open date or not, and whether we'll have one of our good friends jumping in online to talk about things with us. Who knows? But I'll be live from Florida on the 23rd. But we'll figure it all out. It's gonna be fun.
We will. In the meantime, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and definitely take care. Stay safe.
Love to Rena.
Love to Chaz.
Cheers, everybody. Good night.